Morrissey moving in, holding. What's he gonna do? He shoots, he scores! Morrissey, top shelf, what a shot! It's 5-2 Kelowna, and what a night for Josh Morrissey!
All right, I'm here with Josh Morrissey of the Winnipeg Jets. So Josh, how are you holding up right now? How's the season came to an abrupt end for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think like everybody, obviously it's been, it's been a lot of an adjustment, a lot of changes. Obviously, everyone, whether you're a hockey player or any career really, you've had to adapt. So, first it was kind of scary, I think, because it came to an abrupt halt and everything sort of seemed to happen so fast over a couple of days. But since then, I think all I've been trying to do is listen to what the experts are telling us and try and follow that as best as I can, and try to stay busy at home and stay safe and stay home to try to stop the spread and flatten the curve and all of those things like we're being told to do. So it's been, something that no one, I think, saw coming and no one could really prepare for or has been through before. So it's sort of been, going day by day. But, I think so far I've been managing it okay.
So your WHL Bantam Draft was 10 years ago this year. What do you remember from that Bantam season? You were playing for, I believe, the Calgary Royals Bantam AAA team that year. Are there any memorable games or any memorable matchups that you had here in Calgary or any tournaments you went to?
Yeah, that's, it's crazy that was 10 years ago. Time just flies by. But, it was Bantam year. Obviously, it's an exciting time. It was probably one of the most fun years of my minor hockey. Just had an awesome group of guys on the team that I played on, and a bunch of those guys are still my best friends today. It was just awesome. We didn't end up going as far as maybe we wanted in the playoffs and stuff like that, but it was a good year overall, and I had a ton of fun, like I said, with a great group of friends of mine. And it was fun. It seems like I have a lot of great memories from that year, and then obviously leading up to the draft, it was something that's talked about a lot and you're nervous about and stuff like that. And I was just super excited to be drafted to PA and go through the whole process. It was really cool.
So when you did get drafted to PA, what your 16-year-old year, what was that like, making that jump from midget AAA to the Western Hockey League, especially for a guy like you who came in and was expected to play some pretty heavy minutes as a young player?
Yeah, I think it was exciting. Obviously, it was a lot of changes. Going from to living away from home, playing in a league with players that were up to 20 years old at the time, and 4 years older than you, kind of thing. And at that point in my life, I'd never really played against guys probably any more than maybe 2 years older than me in midget. So I think probably from there, that was probably the biggest adjustment, and the number of games, the travel, all of those things. But I think for me, I kind of acclimatized pretty fast, and it was a lot of fun. Personally, I had always wanted to play in the Western Hockey League. I always wanted to play, in a schedule like that. And so for me, it was just a lot of fun. I think I learned a lot, and probably the first half of the year, was the most learning I maybe did in my entire time in the Western Hockey League. And after that, the second half of the year kind of started to, feel like I was, settled in and started to, maybe my game started to take off a little bit more. So, it was a lot of fun playing in front of a lot more fans and stuff like that. And it was a blast.
I remember playing with you when I was in Prince Albert for a couple months, and you were 17 that year going into your draft year. And the thing I remember the most about you was how committed and driven that you were. It was like you knew you had a plan of what you needed to do every day to get to the NHL. I'd always see you in the weight room. You'd be doing extra stuff with Dave Manson after practice. Where do you think your ability at such a young age to have that maturity came from?
I mean, I think, obviously we had a lot of fun playing together, and, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, I don't know. I think it's just something that I've always wanted to do, from the time I was 8, 10 years old. Like, all I've wanted to do, was playing the NHL, maybe even earlier than that. But going to junior, I guess you're a lot closer at that point than you'd ever been, and especially for specifically that 17-year-old year being my draft year and stuff like that. I just felt like I wanted to do everything I could to improve and just try and get to the NHL. That was the number one goal in my life for a very long time, and I think that was pretty much it. That was sort of the thing I woke up with every day, was what can I do to try to improve now to, be a better player at this point in time, but also try to, eventually get to the NHL, and what would that look like? What would the work look like today to help me get there?
Yeah. So you ended up getting drafted 13th overall by the Winnipeg Jets. You go to training camp at 18 years old. What was that like for you? It's got to be a ton of pressure being such a high pick in the Canadian market. Did you think that you had a chance to make the team at 18? Did you go into camp thinking, I'm not coming back to the Western League this year?
I think, yeah, first of all, it was exciting. It was a whirlwind from the end of the season. It's a crazy time for those guys going through that process. Obviously we lost the first round, but with PA, but then I think I went to the under 18 tournament. So that was like a month long in Russia. And then you come back and it's the combine and, interviews and all that kind of stuff. And then the draft and then development camp. And then I think I had World Junior Camp. And so it was a lot of stuff going on and a lot of cool experiences. But that first camp, I think as a young guy, until you've been to a camp, you don't really know what to expect, or you don't know how good the players are in NHL. And I try to go in with the approach that I'd love to try and make the team. Did I think that was realistically going to happen? Probably not, but you never know, especially just because you don't know where you sit relative to those players in game situations, and you don't know how you stack up or what you need to work on to try to get there. So for me, I think going through the camp and sort of learning a lot as I went through it, and playing some exhibition games. My first exhibition game was against Washington. It was a craft hockeyville game. So I think they had a lot of their star guys playing because of that. So, Ovi was starting lineup across the way from me, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. But it was a lot of fun. I think I learned a lot. And then going back to junior, I think I knew what I had to work on to try to, get there as soon as possible again, maybe the next year and coming years.
So you played in Prince Albert and with Kelowna with Leon Draisaitl. I remember playing with him and playing against him. Playing against him was horrible. He was unbelievable. Did you see him being the type of star that he's become in the NHL back when you played with him in juniors?
Well, I think obviously we both know what it was like playing with him, and just the passes he would make, the dedication he had to the game, how much he loved the game. It's kind of funny, but obviously there's, so much hype about guys in across different leagues, and guys are playing in Europe, and you start seeing some draft rankings and stuff. And, but you don't really ever get to see everybody playing against each other in the same league all the time. But I always just felt like, when I would see him against other players, I'm like, this guy's unbelievable and his vision's unbelievable. And it seemed like every 2 weeks he was just getting better. And I think for him growing up in Germany, I mean, he would get like 200 points in 40 games or something. Like I remember seeing the stats when he came over, and they were just unbelievable. So I think, him playing against a lot tougher competition, all of a sudden, like his game just was getting better and better every, like I said, 2 weeks. So, I mean, I always felt like he was going to be a superstar in the NHL. I think both of us probably really loved getting those backhand saucer passes to the point, and you have all the time in the world to walk into a slap shot or something like that. So I miss those. Those were a lot of fun coming from him for sure, and I'm just happy to see him get be having the success he is too, because we both know he's just an awesome guy.
Yeah, he's an incredible athlete too. For those players that are going through the draft right now, what advice would you have for them? Not everybody's going to be a guy like you who goes 6th overall. Some guys are going to go undrafted, and then some guys are going to be 3rd or 4th round picks. But what do you think is the most important piece of advice that you'd have for players who are 14 right now, but want to get to where you are 10 years from now?
If you look at the players in the NHL, you look at the history of the Western Hockey League, at the end of the day, the way I always viewed it was it's an invite to camp. I mean, and that was something that, sure, is it nice to go as high as you can? 100%. Why not? And at that point in time in your life, I mean, I think the thing that I've really, I guess, learned at this point in my career is like, whether it was in Bantam hockey, the draft, or in, junior, trying to get into the lineup consistently, or, get on the power play, or get on the penalty kill, or, any of those things. And the same things go on in the NHL. So, you're trying to, get on the power play, or move up the lineup, or break through from the minor leagues to the NHL or whatnot. So there's always going to be, like, at any given time, that's sort of the most important thing in your career. But, a few weeks later, months later, a year later, I mean, it's all relative. So I think, of course, when draft day comes, obviously it's exciting for a lot of guys. But realistically, it's just an opportunity to go to training camp, and, you still have to make the most of it, whether you're a 1st round pick or not drafted at all. And, there's so many great stories of guys being high picks and making the NHL and being phenomenal players. And there's so many stories of guys, that were undrafted and are phenomenal, outstanding NHL players. So it really just, you have to make the most of your opportunity. And, it's like I said, I think it's just an invite to training camp, and you still have to, there's plenty of opportunity down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Josh, thanks a lot for doing this. I hope you're able to stay safe, stay in shape, and just get ready for whenever you guys are asked to get back out on the ice.
Yeah, thanks, Hodge. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, you too.